hot off the press, continuing on with this series, the ongoing series on the mid-year changes that the Georgia Association of Realtors has made to the contract package. Please subscribe by clicking the link below so that you don't miss any of these changes. I'm going over them one by one so the videos don't get too long. So stay tuned, dive in, and welcome. My name is Dana Sparks. I'm the broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors and the director of the Real Estate Academy of America. And I do videos on mostly contract tips, all kinds of contract tips, realtor code of ethics, license law, and some fun videos as well as some lead generation. But the primary focus of this channel is contract tips. So continuing on with the Georgia Association of Realtors, or GAR, mid-year revisions that they have made, let's dive in. As you know, GAR brings out a new contract package at the beginning of every year. And then mid-year, they do changes typically for typographical errors, grammatical corrections, syntax changes, things like that. And then every now and then there is a doozy of a change that comes out. Well, this year, this is, I'm recording this video the beginning of June 2024 in light of the NAR settlement agreement, which has been in the news for the past several months. The GAR Forms Committee has had a huge task on their hands. So thank you to the GAR Forms Committee for all of these changes. There are lots of doozies this year, not unexpected, lots of changes to verbiage regarding broker compensation. One of the universal changes that GAR has made throughout the contract package is, rather than talking about broker commission, they've changed the term to compensation. Please, again, stay tuned, subscribe. You can hit the bell. It looks like a bell to be notified every time a new video drops so that you don't miss any of these changes. Today, we're going to cover a brand new form that GAR has come up with. And this form is F259, and it is called the Broker Compensation Agreement Exhibit. It is an exhibit to a purchase and sale agreement. It is referenced in the purchase and sale agreement. And let me share my screen and we'll cover this together. So here we go. All right. This is brand new form, July 1st, 2024, called the Broker Compensation Agreement Exhibit. It says exhibit, so it is an exhibit to the purchase and sale agreement or to any contract, whether you're using residential resale purchase and sale, new construction purchase and sale, land purchase and sale, lot purchase and sale. It is an exhibit to a purchase and sale agreement. And we're just going to dive in and go through this together. Stay tuned and watch the other videos because there's a lot of overlap and reference to things I can't cover all in one video, but I will cover them throughout. It tells you agents right up front, this agreement should not be used if the broker's compensation and the party or broker paying it have already been agreed to in a separate written agreement and is not being modified. What does all of that mean? Well, before I even get into that, just the fact that it says broker compensation, as a reminder, you are all affiliated licensees affiliated with a broker. All contracts are written in the name of the broker. All compensation is earned in the name of the broker. There is verbiage throughout that does say you as an affiliated licensee, if you are signing a document regarding compensation, you warrant that you do have the express authority to sign regarding compensation on behalf of your broker. You have your broker's permission to sign regarding what happens with that compensation. So that's why it says broker compensation. And your broker has to get compensated before your broker can pay you, the agent, your compensation by virtue of what you had agreed to with your broker on your independent contractor agreement. But this is the compensation coming from the public to the brokers or from one broker to another broker. Again, so I should have said that at first, but this agreement is only used if the broker's compensation and the party or broker paying it have been agreed to in separate written agreement and is not being modified. In other words, if the closing instructions to closing attorney or pre-showing compensation agreement, which used to be called co-op commission agreement to be used prior to showing, if they've already been signed and agreed to and nothing in that is changing, you don't need this form. But let's continue on. What does this form say? This broker compensation agreement is made, and you fill in the date, by the undersigned parties in connection with a real estate transaction to purchase and sell real property, and you put in the property address, and then you identify the buyers and the sellers. Then it goes on to say, for and in consideration of $10 and other good valuable consideration, the receipt and sufficiency of which is hereby acknowledged. That means that $10 does not change hands. It's just the consideration for the contract, this contract between the parties regarding compensation. This is what they agree to. This says compensation being offered to buyer's broker. I think that's still a typo, and I believe that should just say brokers, because both the buyer's broker and the seller's broker are referenced below. So that before that comes out, these forms will be available to agents 7/1/24. I won't be surprised if that is changed to say compensation being offered to brokers. The compensation of the undersigned brokers for professional brokerage services, compensation, provided in the above referenced transaction is set forth below and shall be paid by the following party or the broker working with or representing such party. So before I even go any further, being paid by the following party, meaning it can be paid by the public buyer, paid by the public seller, or paid by the broker working with the buyer or working with the seller. And it goes on to say working with or representing such party. What does that mean? That means that it is paid regardless if the broker / agent working with the public is working with them as a customer or is an agent. If they have a client relationship or a customer relationship, that does not impact compensation. And then it goes on to say compensation of the buyer's broker, blank % of the purchase price, flat fee dollar amount, or any other special circumstances written out here. So compensation of buyer's broker, how much? And then it says the compensation of the buyer's broker shall be paid by, and that is whom is paying this compensation to the buyer's broker, or what combination is it? So this is a total amount paying that the buyer's broker is being compensated. How is it? Who is paying that? Is the seller paying that? Is the buyer paying that? Is the seller's broker paying that? And what part? That's what goes in that section. The next part is compensation of the seller's broker. This is the amount. And is it expressed in a % of the sale price, a flat fee, or other? And the compensation of the seller's broker shall be paid by whom is paying that? That gets written out here. Then this next section, general. This compensation agreement is intended to amend and modify all previous agreements, if any, regarding 1, the compensation of the undersigned brokers, and 2, the party or parties or broker responsible for paying such compensation. So generally speaking, now when we're talking about compensation to the brokers or of the brokers, it's how much and who is paying it. And it can be all divvied up in a variety of different people paying the brokers the compensation. It goes on to say, this compensation agreement shall be enforceable and binding upon all parties and brokers signing this compensation agreement, even if it is not signed by all parties and brokers to the purchase and sale agreement to which it is attached as an exhibit. C, the compensation agreement shall not be binding upon any broker or party who does not sign and consent to this compensation agreement. Why does it have that? Just a little legal issue. If, generally speaking, if an exhibit is referenced in a purchase and sale agreement and the exhibit itself is not initialed, it is still incorporated as part of the agreement if it's referenced in the purchase and sale agreement and the purchase and sale agreement is signed. So GAR has added this verbiage that says that there's an exclusion to that because we're dealing with compensation, if this actual exhibit is not signed, it is not binding upon the parties. So this exhibit definitely needs to be signed. That is also going to be an issue if the buyer and the seller end up negotiating and become binding through a counter offer. So this document is still going to have to be signed. All right, continuing on. D, any licensee signing this compensation agreement on behalf of their broker warrants that they have full authority to sign on behalf of and bind the broker to the compensation agreement. E, once this compensation agreement is signed, it cannot be further modified without the express written consent of the brokers whose compensation is set forth herein, and any modification shall be null and void without the affected broker's written consent. F, the brokers referenced herein are express beneficiaries of the compensation agreement and shall have all remedies available at law or in equity in the event compensation agreement is breached. G, if the compensation being paid to the buyer's broker is more than the buyer's broker is permitted to accept, and the buyer does not consent to the additional compensation being paid, then the offer of compensation herein shall be reduced to the amount of compensation the buyer's broker is permitted to accept. And then you have a place for special stipulations. Then we have before I go on, this part about it can't be changed without the broker's written consent, that also is to keep agents in compliance with license law. Moving on to the signatures. Again, this is an exhibit to the purchase and sale agreement. It has the buyer's signature, the seller's signature, and the broker's signature of the buyer and the broker's signature of the seller or the authorized representative of that broker. Again, brand new form, F-259, broker compensation agreement should not be used if there is already compensation to the brokers already agreed upon in a separate form. You don't need to use this. You do need to use this if it is being modified from what has already been agreed upon, or it has not been agreed upon and you need to reference compensation. What do you think? Comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Please take our classes. The Real Estate Academy of America is teaching. We continually teach throughout the year contracts classes on the GAR forms and the RE forms, but our focus has been a lot on the GAR forms this year in light of everything that is going on. The classes we are teaching that will cover these changes, it's either called the 2024 GAR contract dissection class or 2024 GAR contract changes class. And then we also have separate classes that just break out the brokerage agreements, and we go over the brokerage agreements in depth. But but these changes, now that they are out, will be covered in those classes. And if you have any question about that, make sure to get in touch with the instructor before the class. And hopefully they should be marketed that they are covering the mid-year changes. What do you think? Love to hear your thoughts. Stay tuned for additional videos on all the rest of the mid-year changes. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education. Bye. If you like that video, check out the one here. If you like the content on this entire channel, please click here to subscribe. I try to take even the most complicated of real estate situations and make them crystal clear. See what I did there? Real estate made crystal clear. Thank you guys so much for watching.